Hey everyone, Glenn here from rewiringtinnitus.com. So, I talk a lot about habituation because I really believe that it's our best hope to find lasting relief from tinnitus. Now, it's not a cure, but it's entirely possible to get to this place where it stops bothering us. A place where your brain can start to tune it out like it does all other meaningless background noise. Now, I've also talked a lot about the various strategies that people use to habituate, all of which typically involve changing the way we react to the sound emotionally, which is the obstacle that prevents habituation from happening in the first place. But what I don't talk about nearly enough is the extreme volatility of the process itself. You see, progress is rarely ever linear, and each day is not typically a little bit better than the day before. The habituation process is usually more like a roller coaster. It can feel like you've taken 3 steps forward and 2 steps back over and over again. And experiencing that kind of setback, especially if you've had a string of good days, can be completely devastating, can feel just utterly hopeless. So it's important to understand that bad days are a part of the habituation process and not some sign that you've gone backwards or undone the progress you've made. Your progress hasn't been erased. You've just been triggered back into the old reaction and the old pattern that you've developed with the tinnitus. Because when you work to replace the old emotional reaction of fear and frustration and anxiety and panic and depression, it doesn't just go away. But on the flip side, that new mental pattern that you're developing doesn't just go away when you have a spike. I'll give you a good analogy to help you understand what I mean by this. So I work very hard to be a better person. I actively try to improve myself on a daily basis, and that's reflected in the way I act around my friends and my wife and my colleagues. And then I visit my family in my childhood home, and I might as well be a teenager again. We all start yelling over each other, pushing each other's buttons, because the family dynamic never really changed. That old pattern, it didn't go away. I just developed a new pattern of behavior that became my dominant behavior more of the time. But being around my family triggers that old dynamic, and it pops right back into the forefront. So a very similar thing is happening on difficult days during the habituation process. Remember, the goal of habituation is to create a new emotional pattern, a new emotional response to the sound that enables your brain to tune it out automatically more and more of the time. But the old pattern of fear is deeply ingrained in your brain, and it will be triggered repeatedly throughout the process. So whatever strategy you use to habituate, whether it's the tinnitus focus meditation techniques that I teach, or any other habituation strategy, it's important to understand that spikes and setbacks are going to happen, and it's probably going to feel like you're back to square one. But you're not. You're not back to square one. The trick is remembering that when times get tough, and remembering that even if you can't lower the volume in the moment, you can always make yourself more comfortable and more calm, because spikes always pass. They always do. But this also raises an interesting question. With all the ups and downs along the way, how can you possibly measure progress? You see, when you live with tinnitus, you tend to obsessively measure the sound and constantly check to see if it's louder now than it was before. But that's not a helpful way to quantify your progress with habituation. Instead, simply take a step back and look at your overall picture of quality of life. Ask yourself, is my overall quality of life better than it was before? Am I doing more of the things that I want to be doing and bothered less by my tinnitus more of the time? If the answer to any of those questions is yes, when you look at the bigger picture, then you'll know you're on the right track. Because ultimately, habituation is about improving quality of life, which is really important to remember and something that not nearly enough doctors are talking about these days. So that's all for me. I hope you guys learned something today. Talk to you soon.